And I've seen massive fires that really look like depictions of hell,
Oh my gosh.
right? Where you just drive home on the freeway and you look and you're surrounded by a mountain ablaze with embers. And you wake up in the morning and ashes are falling from the sky like it's snowing. Your cars get covered in white.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing, scary thing. And the smoke makes the air thick and heavy and the sky turns orange.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Couple Career Talks. Today I'm here with Ming Wei
Cyprian Pascal.
Pascal. Okay.
But everybody calls me Cyprian.
Cyprian. What's the origin of your name?
Well, my first name, Ming Wei, I used it up until high school. And then when I left high school, I started using Cyprian. Ming Wei is a Chinese name, 2 words, and it kind of means leader of tomorrow. Yeah, that's loosely what it translates to.
Yeah.
Cyprian is my French middle name, which literally means of Cyprus, from Cyprus.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not from Cyprus. Well, it's not obvious, but I'm not from Cyprus. So that name's more common there. And it's more common when you come from a religious family to have a saint's name.
Yeah. Is your family religious?
Yes, the Catholic. There's a Saint Cyprian, which I am named after.
Okay.
Although the only person who calls me on Saint Cyprian Day is my grandfather. Everybody else doesn't really care.
Yeah.
Not that they should, but you know, in his eyes, I have 2 birthdays.
What are you studying at Stanford?
So I am in my 5th year, doing my first year of a master's, a co-term
Yeah.
in Earth Systems. I did my undergrad in product design, and I'm just about done with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I did. I started off in architecture, and then I decided that it wasn't for me because I loved the work, but then I thought, wow, I could really apply this tool set on a much larger scale. And I felt too limited. If I end up just designing for wealthy people, which is a very high chance when you have an architect, most
Yeah.
people can't afford architects.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the type of impact I wanted to have. I thought the lens of designing for people was fantastic. And so the things at the design school, at the D school at Stanford really spoke to me.
Yeah.
And so the tool set's very similar. It's framed differently, but it's very similar. And so I was like, okay, I could work on infrastructural stuff. I can work on policy. I can work in systems. I can work in pure, graphic design, UI, UX, all that kind of stuff. So then I switched to product design, and I haven't looked back.
What are these tool sets?
Well, in architecture,
Yeah.
right, you think a lot about materiality,
Yeah.
space, light. What does the space mean to people? And when you're designing for a client,
Yeah.
you really want to know how are they planning to use the space, and so you can optimize for how they live. In my mind, I was like, okay, a great architect would maybe, this is a little unconventional, but you could go live with your client in their current home for the first month,
Yeah.
for a whole month, and then just be a guest and observe how they use their spaces, right? What works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then you design their new place, you optimize to keep the things that work well, build on that, and then you redesign, fix the things that are not working that well, any friction points that don't have any positive outcomes,
Yeah.
right? And there are friction points that do have positive outcomes, don't get me wrong, but you have to know very well how to decipher what's something you want to keep and what you don't.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of the human-centered architectural design tool set.
Yeah.
So I wanted to play into that. And then of course the technical stuff is all there, like knowing how to design properly, how to face the sun, getting the right materials, air tightness, water tightness, the technology part of it. That just comes with any trade, but that can be learned on the job as well.
Yeah.
But really the way of thinking is what you want to focus on in undergrad. And so design thinking in product design, that kind of took a similar lens and then really generalized it so I could apply it to anything I wanted. And gave me hard tools and like harder techniques that I could apply to whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And so to me, that was really interesting. So I jumped over there. And then when it comes to masters, you're kind of departing the area of, oh, how do I want to learn how to think?
Yeah.
And you're moving into what do I want to gain expertise in?
Yeah.
What knowledge system? And so I thought, I come from a pretty privileged background, like upper middle class. I grew up in many places around the world. What is even worth doing? Right? I've seen so much of the world. And I don't have any hobbies that I would die if I didn't do. Like I have some like filmmaking that I love, but it's not like it's the end all for me. So I was like, okay, there's nothing more important than environmental systems.
Yeah.
Right? Every other industry is great and all. Obviously, I didn't want to be a doctor or anything. right? There are some primary services which, if you have any inkling or passion towards doing, firefighter, doctor, those types of things, you should absolutely go do them.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have a calling like that. So what was more interesting to me is like I want to solve these larger system problems that are very macro level.
Yeah.
And, kind of you have to take responsibility for the planet. And I thought, okay, I grew up seeing a lot of the world. I've seen abject poverty and immense wealth and rubbed shoulders with both.
Yeah.
What better place than to pick a challenge that unites everything? And, you could be like, oh, I'm going to go for social rights, equality, or, poverty, food shortage, all these things. Ultimately, those things, if you don't solve them in the next 50 years, you can still solve them 50 years later. It won't really have a massive effect on the direction of the world, of humankind. But environmental problems is something we've confirmed can completely wipe us out.
Yeah.
Right? So in my eyes, that has become the most dire need.
Yeah.
And that's why I went to Earth Systems. It's completely taught me so much about water cycling, carbon cycling, the relationship between nature and humans. And to me, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
It's something we often overlook, don't think about. Right now, people say, oh, I love nature. I love nature. These people are just going to be the granola crunchy people who just love to hike. And that's great and all, and they know a lot about nature and water systems. But a lot of their relationship to nature comes in recreation.
Yeah.
And that is fine. But animals aren't like, oh, humans are recreational pastime, right? They're not like, oh, for fun, I'm going to go into the city. And then those are people who love nature. And then you have people who are part of nature. Right?
Yeah.
We're talking people who live in more rural areas, live off the land, farmers, agricultors, maybe research specialists who live in their fields, literally. And then people, even some of these older jobs, lumberjacks, whatnot, even if you just live in deep wood, that's a whole different relationship than I love nature. I am part of this ecosystem.
It's about understanding how it functions and the things that affect it.
Yeah, people, hunters, right?
Yeah.
Or a lot of native populations.
Yeah.
They really get in close with nature.
Yeah.
That's a relationship that most people will never understand.
Yeah.
Right? It's different when I can pack up, I can take my tent, and then when I'm feeling tired, I can just pack up and go home.
Yeah.
And that's different than this is where I live, this is how I get my water, this is how I get my fish, my food, right? This is where I hunt.
Yeah.
Every little activity is not like I have another option.
Yeah.
So that type of relationship is very different. And so exploring all these different things and how as a society, as a human society, we all kind of evolve has been really interesting for me.
Yeah.
And then learning the earth sciences that come with it is really fascinating.
Yeah. Is there a specific area that you want to focus on or?
But at the moment, I'm just starting.
Okay.
So I'm a bit of a generalist.
Yeah.
But I think what fascinates me is the opportunity of doing all this in developing communities. I think there's so much opportunity there, right? And all of this, there's a lot of reframing going on too, because we've seen capitalism and the vast exploitation of resources around the world, the environmental harms that it has, right? But then once you start factoring in the other costs, it's like, okay, maybe if we gave the environment its proper due price, what value it truly brings, it would change how we do things, right? But this very globalized world has made it so every developing community and country wants to be a bit like the West. They're like, we have our values, but let's go into entrepreneurship and startups and all these big business situations.
Yeah.
And nothing against that, but that's all optimized to make money. And this little thing called GDP, every economy wants it.
Yeah.
And personally, I think in developing communities that have other values, come from other rich cultures, they should play into the things that matter to them there.
And not follow one.
Right. And not follow this Germanic British system. They should play into what makes their culture unique, what values they truly have, and create the modern version of that. What does that look like in the world if you want to carry that through?
Yeah.
I think the idea of a good life, frugal life, a life of enhanced quality, a higher quality of life. What does that look like for that culture? And I think it should be different everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we've seen industrialized China. Last 20 years, meat consumption has gone massive. And I think they're the biggest importer and consumer of chocolate products from France and Switzerland and all these things. And that's not because China loves it. It's because they saw the West.
Yeah.
And this is what rich people do? Okay, let's also do that.
Yeah.
For a long time, China had very few dairy products. right? A lot of people in Asia are lactose intolerant, and it was kind of a government program to bring in a lot of dairy products. And so now it's a very well-developed industry.
Yeah.
But that was a whole thing. Most people, that's such an interesting history. There's so many cool histories that explore the relationships between kind of people, nature, our history, how our physiology has changed,
Yeah.
given food consumption patterns and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think it's so rich, and we should play into that. We shouldn't all want to be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really a lot of what I'm studying. Talk a lot about who should fund, right, the big green wave of investment of new technology.
Yeah.
How much energy do we need? How do we provide energy for everyone? How do we make it equitable? All of these questions are really interesting. Everything from mining rights to, where should you inject more capital in the system to make the changes we want? Or is that what's needed, right? There are still smaller communities who live off bartering systems. The craziest thing to me is, given the urgency of the climate crisis,
Yeah.
why do we have to pay ourselves and pay each other to save our own lives? Right? Isn't that such a strange
That's a good
thing?
question.
That
Yeah.
is entirely a child of this very capitalistic society. Not to say capitalism is all bad. It has brought many great things, especially in the fields of research, R&D, and the cutting edge.
Yeah.
Right? That has a place that should continue to exist.
Yeah.
But the solutions we've brought to market and scaled infinitely are just not optimized for best quality of life.
Yeah.
And so those are kind of the questions that really interest me. Right? What does development look like moving forward?
Yeah.
And so I've taken many approaches to this. I always thought my future work would include working at the intersection of private companies, public service, and also nonprofits, things like that, right?
Yeah.
If I want to be very mission-oriented over profit-oriented,
Yeah.
I'm going to need to get all hands on board. Everybody who has knowledge, expertise, operational know-how
Yeah.
to do these certain things all across the world. So I've tried my hand working in private. I've worked in venture capital for a little bit. I worked in Washington, D.C. in the Department of Transportation, right? With a public service job.
Yeah.
And it's all super interesting how everything works.
Yeah.
It's very different.
That is really so cool.
When I said technical roads, this is what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've driven on this kind of road before.
Okay.
Maybe Devon has a similar one. Went up to, I can't remember the name.
Yeah. There's a few roads like this. Alpine, Page Mill, Kings Mountain. Kings Mountain's the windiest, but it's shorter.
Yeah.
But these are so fun.
Yeah.
Out here in nature is where I love to be. This is the type of place among the trees
Yeah.
where I come from for my therapy.
Like when you're feeling down or something. You just,
Yeah. And then also in school, I'm studying all these earth systems, environmental things.
Yeah.
But it's good to connect with what you think you're studying.
Yeah.
Like, what am I protecting?
Yeah.
And then it becomes so apparent when you come out here. It would break my heart if places like this cease to exist.
Yeah. They kind of just cut down all the trees.
Yeah. But, no, I don't know if we would ever get down to cutting down these trees, but
No.
we would totally poison the water table. The trees would die off by themselves. Or a mass fire, a big forest fire could really do a lot of damage here. And that's scary. I've seen, I've lived in California for the last almost 11 years. Well, yeah. And I've seen massive fires that really look like depictions of hell,
Oh my gosh.
right? Where you just drive home on the freeway and you look and you're surrounded by a mountain ablaze with embers. And you wake up in the morning and ashes are falling from the sky like it's snowing. Your cars get covered in white. It's a scary thing. And the smoke makes the air thick and heavy and the sky turns orange. So I lived 9 years in Beijing. I'm used to that one.
Yeah.
The smog is just heavy.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
I see why that's important. Like, I'm just getting more involved in the whole ecosystem, climate space. Because back in Nigeria, it's not we have more problems to care about than the climate.
Yeah. A lot of people come here to, as you can see, drive their fancy cars and go fast.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Take your time. Yeah, that was me yesterday.
here on this road.
Yeah. I came up here. I ride my motorcycles here.
So I want to learn how to ride a motorcycle.
It's not for everybody, I would say. It's dangerous.
I want to learn it just for fun.
Yeah, but you have to know yourself. Like some people, if you're not scared of anything, don't do dangerous stuff that will get you killed.
Yeah.
So if you know you have no fear response, don't start riding motorcycles. Don't become a slalom skier, right?
I went skiing. Is it skiing? No. Surfing without knowing how to swim.
Surfing without swimming,
Yeah.
that's dangerous.
Yeah, but
Or did you?
I went with somebody that is a very good surfer, so
Okay. Did you wash out at all?
I did.
So what happens? Do they have to come save you every time?
No, it was scary at first, like when I fall off the board. And I didn't do it standing ever. I was always like lying flat. But when I fall, it just felt like scary. Like initially I'll try to find my way to the top, but it was so hard to stand. I'll try to stand. Then later I just stopped breathing and let myself try and float. It was scary, but it was fun.
Yeah, actually, in a funny way, when I ski, one of my favorite things to do while skiing, and not that I try to do it, but it's when I crash. When I slide out, and I'm rolling and moving, and I'm fully surrendered.
Yeah.
I'm surrendering to the hill. It's
Oh
a
my
very
God.
freeing feeling.
And you're just moving,
And I'm
like
just-
not
I'm
knowing if
rolling.
you will hit a rock in 2 seconds.
Well, I probably won't. 'Cause I try not to crash in those areas.
Yeah.
But like in a nice powdery area, fresh snow, big open area,
Yeah.
maybe sometimes in the snow, you miss these bumps.
Yeah.
And it could totally throw you off. Or the jump, I took it way faster than expected. Not big jump, but the little ones.
Yeah.
Or I come out of the woods too fast into open areas where it's just this mogul, which are those bumpy things.
Yeah.
And sometimes you lose it.
Yeah.
And you have to just let go. And it's both scary and very freeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And luckily nothing bad has ever happened. I've only ever broken my thumb when I was a kid. And that was a stupid injury. I didn't even crash.
What other scary things have you done?
Well, motorcycling's scary. Skiing can be
Yeah.
scary. I mean, the things that scare you make you really feel alive. Right? But the fear response is a good thing to have because it keeps you safe.
Yeah.
Sometimes what do I do? Yeah, nothing else really. I try not to do anything too risky.
Yeah.
I obviously do not mix substances with driving or motorcycling, right?
Yeah.
I used to love sweets, sugar, candy, all that stuff. And then as I got older, my mom somehow convinced me that everything bad for you tastes bad. And so I kind of,
Everything bad for you tastes bad.
that's not true. But for the most part, I've lost my appetite for unhealthy foods.
Yeah.
And I have no desire to buy them. Sometimes if my friends have one, I'll take a bite. Like, oh wow, this is so good. But I know if I have, the whole fried chicken piece, my stomach's gonna be upset with me.
Yeah.
So I don't. And that was the hardest part of the road. The rest gets easier. We're at Alice's restaurant. It's over here. You want to go in, or what are we doing?
I don't know.
We'll just take a
Yeah, we
look.
could go in. Take a look.
What do you think of this place? I've been here a lot. What's your impression?
I like it.
It's more interesting for
Like
newcomers.
first impression, I like it. Let's sit there.
Let's sit there.
It's kind of chilly. I should have prepared more for this cold.
Yeah, but it's a lot of families.
Yeah, but I like it.
Very American vibe.
So we got chicken paninis. Oh, this looks good. This looks so good. And it tastes good.
Pretty good.
How did you navigate undergrad? Was it hard?
There's a lot. There's so much coming at you. It's super overwhelming. But navigate how? In what sense?
What was it like for you? Studying everything. What made it hard?
What I didn't like was that it was hard to figure out what all the best opportunities to take advantage of were. There were so many, and so many I learned about too late. And I was like, oh man, I wish I did that, I wish I did that. So I often wish there was a place I could see everything. But at the same time, life's always going to be like that. So you just got to make the best decision with what you know.
Yeah.
It's also very important to allow space for social growth as a person. You can depart from who you were in high school, leave behind all the things that you didn't like,
Yeah.
and then learn about what kind of person you want to be via your relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time for many people, in particular those who come from small, very close-knit communities
Yeah.
where they've only been exposed to one type of living or one way of thinking their whole life. I think they benefit the most. I don't know, what do you think? How do you approach your undergrad?
There was nothing like extremely crazy about my undergrad, except maybe the community I founded. I went to college from home. So I lived with my parents. And like every day, just go to college, go to classes, come back home. So I feel like I didn't really get to do anything crazy. I was just a student. And before that, my high school, I didn't have a very good experience in high school because we just moved from another state due to a crisis. Like we basically lost everything and almost lost our lives. We moved to another state and I was very different from all the kids there. I was very quiet and I got picked on a lot.
For being quiet.
quiet to a fault. I didn't really speak up for myself. Yeah. It was an interesting period of my life. And at college was when I began to really know myself. One thing that made my college very boring or mediocre was I liked this one guy throughout. From like the first year, the program was 5 years, by going through A level, so I got into my second year direct.
Yeah.
From the second year to
the end. For 4 years.
I liked this guy.
Okay.
That didn't, it wasn't like a reciprocated kind of thing. It just made my whole experience very terrible. Oh, he was also in the same class as I was. The period I was able to get over that was during this internship period.
Yeah.
Where we did like IT and like everybody's away. Like that was really exciting. You know, when I got back, I founded this community helping people get into AI, and I was teaching a lot, and it grew to over 500 members. So I was occupied for the duration of my final year in college, and then I was able to start working with the University of Oxford on a research project, and like my career just like spiraled, and that was college. And I ended up founding a company after college, worked on it for like 2 years. And I came to Stanford.
Did you sell the company? Or?
No, I'm actually trying to dissolve it.
Okay.
Stanford is the period where I feel like I'm starting to like explore a lot of things, which is why I like doing a lot of random things. So it's really cool.
That's
It's a
important
good
to have
time.
that period in your life where you can explore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think most people have it in their undergrad.
Yeah.
But for me, undergrad was overwhelming because like you're away from home. There's no off switch. You know, if you're living at school, working at school, breathing in school, eating at school, it's 24/7. Personal life mixes with school life, mixes with career life. Everything gets jumbled up. And so you have to get good at knowing how much personal space you need for yourself and to set your boundaries and everything, because otherwise it will just eat you up.
Like in a way, my experiences, I don't regret them because like in a way I see things differently. Like I'm glad I didn't have some really rough undergrad experiences, and like when I hear some people's stories, I'm like, I'm glad I never experienced that.
Yeah.
But I feel like I just spent a lot of time working on myself and getting to know myself, which is the destination everybody gets to at some point in their life.
Working on yourself is good. It'll always pay off.
Yeah. Would you say you know yourself?
I would say I know myself well enough. Obviously, there's much more to learn, but I know enough about, I think, where I am now that I can direct my focus on thinking about who I want to become, right, and how I want to grow.
I feel like you're so fortunate to have like really explored a lot of things to get to a point now where you know what's like important to you. Yeah.
It's a great thing to simplify your life.
In my own way, I feel like I found that too, like knowing what I need to focus on and like understanding that you don't have to do everything
You don't.
at once.
Yeah. You can't. You can do anything, but you can't do
not
everything.
all at once. Yeah. This was fun. I'm glad we got to talk and we did this. The Cyprian is driving us back to campus. I don't even know how to behave. How do people sit here and talk to me? Ask me questions.
Ask you questions? All right. What drives your work? My bike's like that one. Very similar to
Oh, okay.
that. What makes you want to get up in the morning?
Freedom. Freedom to spend my time the way I want to. It's all about what can I build for myself that is a good balance between making an impact in the world the best way I can and also create a life for myself where I can do that while still being fulfilled. So yeah.
You think impact and fulfillment are very close?
Yeah.
For you?
Yeah. Right from the start of my career, I think that's something I've always.
You think there's a version of your career where you can have a lot of impact without being fulfilled? I mean, for some people might be no, right? Impact is enough to be fulfilled.
Yeah,
But
that's interesting. I think it's possible.
maybe there's a type of work that you might be good at doing, but you don't like to do,
Oh, yeah.
that you would have a massive impact,
Yeah.
but doesn't fulfill you personally.
One for sure, like being a machine learning researcher or engineer. I know if I put in the work, I can be a very great engineer,
Yeah.
but it doesn't fill me up. Like, it doesn't fulfill me. Or if I build an AI company that solves some problem in education or something, it's impactful and will probably affect a lot of people, but won't fulfill me because I don't feel involved in the process.
The teaching.
Yeah. So I think like having my work directly impact people, having my words directly impact people is where the fulfillment comes in. And also because I like it. I like to engage with the community, with the people directly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. It's good you know what you want. Yeah, I know plenty of people who would hate dealing with people, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to do something good, but I don't want to deal with people.
Do you like to deal with people?
Yes, generally yes. I've had cases where I found it annoying,
Yeah.
but I think I'm a very person-oriented like designer,
Yeah.
very human-centered. I really want to get to the root of what's going to help people, and so that requires understanding who you're helping,
Yeah.
desire for connection. So in that sense, yeah. What was the most fun you've ever had in your work? That's important too. You got to enjoy what you love to do.
Yeah.
So when I found my stuff, I was like, oh, I love this process. It's really fun. I love thinking of new ideas, iterating, working with other people, and learning about new knowledge areas, places of expertise that I can pull and draw from. That process was so fun to me.
Okay, one recent thing that I've really loved is the fact that I came up with this Apple Paradox idea. Like, I've been thinking about it for a long time, but it wasn't necessarily, this wasn't what I was thinking about as an end goal.
Okay.
But it has turned out to be such an interesting way for me to connect with people more, because we get to like talk about a lot of things beyond just career, but also personal life and like how they deal with a lot of things. And
Yeah.
it's like I spent the whole first year of my program not really talking to most of like the people I spoke to at length, and in just like 2 hours of just driving, it's just like having that time to do that. But also the fun part is being able to just visit a lot of different places. What's one career advice you would give to anyone watching this video now who is interested in design or systems, you know, anything about impacting the environment we're in? What is something you'd say to them?
I would say get creative. Get really creative. You can merge many disciplines and use what you learn in each one across different fields. You know, pick an area that's important to you, and then pick an approach or skill set that you really enjoy and try to see if you can make that marriage work for you. And just get creative on the things you want to do. You know, you can start your own startup, you can go just have conversations with people to create new job positions. You could say, oh, I think your company's missing this department, let me head it for you. Or I want to go teach this class, so at the same time I can do research and develop my ideas a little more strongly. There's a lot you can do, and I think most people are just lacking a little bit of courage and or creativity and imagination. I think we would do all much better if we just pursued the things that matter to us, we think would have great impact on others, and would be fulfilling. Because like we shouldn't have miserable people walking around, right? You have to do things you like, and you should have a positive effect on people and keep developing yourself, your community, and everything. But do it in a creative way, right? Especially in design, there's so many places you can apply design principles. Do it in a creative way. Never think about why you can't do something, whether it's cost prohibitive, time prohibitive. Just ask yourself, how can I do it? Right?
Yeah.
There's always going to be a way. So
Yeah.
that's my advice.
That is such a great advice and great way to wrap up this video. Thank you for watching. I'm going to link Cyprian's. I'm going to link Cyprian's LinkedIn and Instagram in the comments, in the description, sorry. And make sure to follow him and subscribe and turn on your notifications if you haven't. See you in the next episode. Bye.